That hot mess that they air in the mornings called The View had to issue not one, not two, not three, but 4 corrections, legal corrections, 4 legal notes. Not to mention what they did at that debate, where once again, they tried to fact check only one side. And then when their fact checks got fact checked, they cowered. They cowered in fear. I mean, this is a pattern with them.
I think the problem with that show is that show has this very specific ideological bubble in which they operate in. You know, and they always bring on a token conservative woman and they yell over her and silence her. And, you know, they did that with Megyn.
A lot of people assume The View dominates daytime television, shaping every conversation and controlling the narrative. But that reputation took a serious hit when Joe Rogan and Megyn Kelly weighed in with criticism so sharp it visibly rattled one of the hosts. The exchange was tense, uncomfortable, and impossible to ignore. If anyone believed the show was untouchable, this moment proved otherwise. The polished image cracked right there on screen. Stick around because the way Rogan and Kelly broke through the show's confidence is something worth unpacking.
Just go for it.
Yeah, there's nothing there. Sometimes comics do that.
Yeah, and the other question is then, is that representative of a big constituency? I think probably yes.
Well, a lot of
MSNBC viewers are probably also thinking,
I don't even think the MSNBC viewers, I think they're a little bit more sophisticated than that.
Yeah. This
is like low information, blue no matter who, like older housewives who are mad at the world. That's the appeal that Whoopi Goldberg.
It all kicks off in a scene viewers of The View know well. The panel is already spiraling, everyone talking at once like chaos has become part of the format. Joy Behar launches into another early morning panic monologue. Whoopi stares into the distance like she's trying to calculate something no one else can see. Sunny Hostin seems locked in an argument with reality itself. No one pauses. No one finishes a thought. Every interruption earns applause the moment someone sprinkles in buzzwords like democracy or empowerment. If disorder ever had a studio audience, this would be it.
Trump will be sworn in as the 47th president of the United States, yay, on January 20th of this month. Not everyone's happy about it, and many people would like us to be more focused on the insurrection that he personally unleashed, if you ask them. As we discussed earlier, they think it's as bad as, like, the Holocaust, and you don't have to take my word for it. Here is Sunny Hostin.
January 6th was an atrocity. It was one of the worst moments in American history. And when you think about the worst moments in American history, you know, like World War II, things that happened, you know, like the Holocaust, chattel slavery.
Yeah, the January 6th is right up there next to the Holocaust.
Buried somewhere inside the noise, someone tries to make an actual point, only to be swallowed up again by layered reactions and exaggerated expressions. Ana Navarro delivers a side-eye so sharp it could sour milk in seconds. What's happening on screen doesn't feel like a debate, or even a genuine conversation. It feels like group validation theater disguised as discussion, wrapped in self-approval and staged under perfect lighting. The whole thing carries a heavy air of smug certainty, like disagreement isn't even allowed to exist inside the studio.
In fairness, though, I mean, The View has to be, you know, if you average out The View hosts, among the dumbest people on television. And so it's like they say the thing that people are thinking, but they say it very directly, so they expose whatever truth. But
I don't think some of them are dumb.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think Sunny Hostin.
You think it's deliberate?
I think she's ideologically driven, and they have blinders on, for sure. I don't think Sunny's dumb. But Whoopi is certainly not the brightest person, and what she just said just doesn't make any sense. It's just like so silly to say. It's not a well thought out. It's like if you had an idea for a premise and you like it was totally baked and half baked, and you went on stage with it and just.
Then Joe Rogan weighs in, not with shouting, not with theatrics, but with steady calm. He speaks like someone who has seen every kind of conversation possible and knows exactly when something doesn't add up. This is a guy who's interviewed astronauts, scientists, comedians, and people with wildly unconventional beliefs. Yet his reaction to The View makes it seem like even he struggles to believe what he's watching qualifies as meaningful dialogue.
Disgusting. She's Anna Navarro, in your wildest imagination, you could never solo host a show. You will only ever make it as part of an ensemble, and you could never hope to achieve the success that Tucker Carlson has. So you can sit in your little cheap seats all day long and enjoy your little negative henpecking, but your careers are going nowhere, and Tucker is about to dominate in whatever space.
That's when Megyn Kelly steps in, sharp, precise, and fully locked in. She has the kind of presence that news networks never quite figured out how to control. Too direct for some, too relentless for others, but always prepared. Now she brings notes, context, and a list of contradictions long enough to make any PR department uneasy. Rogan laughs at the absurdity of the panel's outrage, while Kelly moves through their claims like she's reviewing a case file. Together they form a critique that feels less like commentary and more like a media audit. Rogan points out how little research actually backs the panel's loud certainty, while Kelly highlights their patterns with surgical precision.
Hot mess that they air in the mornings, called The View, had to issue not one, not two, not three, but 4 corrections, legal corrections. 4 legal notes. We only have 3 of them on camera, but look at this.
I have another legal note.
My God.
Both Trump and Pam Bondi have denied allegations of a quid pro quo. I have a legal note.
You want to take this one, Joy, or are you
Matt
good?
Gaetz has long denied all allegations and has not been charged with any crime.
That's true.
Also, another legal note. Pete Hegseth's lawyer said he paid the woman in 2023 to head off the threat of a baseless lawsuit. He has denied any wrongdoing.
Not to mention what they did at that debate, where once again, they tried to fact check only one side, and then when their fact checks got fact checked, they cowered. They cowered in fear. I mean, this is a pattern.
Rogan becomes blunt logic in motion, calling out obvious flaws without needing dramatic delivery. Kelly becomes the sharp edge, slicing through emotional theatrics and overplayed outrage. One moment Whoopi looks stunned. The next, the show's unbreakable aura finally feels exposed. For years, The View operated in a protected bubble, wrapped in moral self-confidence and applause-based validation. But Rogan and Kelly don't need industry approval or polite acknowledgement. They aren't chasing awards or studio approval. They're comfortable calling things out plainly. And when the panel mocked Robert F. Kennedy Jr. without engaging his arguments, that's where things boiled over.
Because I think Sunny is very intelligent, but she's ideologically captured.
Right.
You know, that's sort of, I think the other ones, there's a couple of the other ones, don't have to name any names, who are just very dull-minded. But I think Sunny's not one of them. I think she's smart, but captured.
Sure, I think she came into it with an agenda.
Of course.
You know.
They do everything with it.
Instead of engaging in discussion, the panel rolled straight into dismissal mode. Opinions outside their comfort zone were brushed off as dangerous by default. Podcast hosts were painted as reckless simply for letting guests complete full sentences. Rogan didn't need to shout to respond. He calmly broke down the segment piece by piece, pointing out how criticism was being delivered without real engagement or fact-checking. It looked less like analysis and more like a performance meant to trigger applause rather than understanding.
Trump came out and said she's about as pro-choice as they come. And here was the reaction on The View.
I think she hates him.
Yeah,
well, yeah.
Okay, so we can all
That's a
agree on
given.
that. That's a given. I also think that she wants to take him out. She does not want to be the first lady anymore.
They agree with you.
She doesn't want to be the first lady. She destroyed the Rose Garden. Who hates Christmas? Melania Trump hates Christmas. She doesn't want to decorate for Christmas. She doesn't want anything to do with him. She doesn't want to sleep in the same room with him. She can't tolerate him.
Would you look? This is a network that still runs out fact checks to these women, like it's concerned about them staying factual. She hates Trump. She doesn't want to be near him. She doesn't want to be president again. She destroyed the Rose Garden and she hates Christmas. That is what passes for news on a network. They did a presidential.
Rogan didn't rely on insults. He relied on evidence. Clips, quotes, timestamps, laid out with quiet precision. His tone wasn't angry. It sounded more like disappointment. Like a teacher realizing the class didn't bother reading the assignment. He highlighted how often the panel reacts to headlines instead of content, treating surface-level talking points like research. And just as his critique settled in, Megyn Kelly stepped forward even harder. If Rogan brought clarity, Kelly brought documentation.
No hate for Joy Behar. If I saw her, I'd give her a hug. I'd probably say the same thing about me if I was her. You're worried about losing your job, and you're worried about podcasts taking over, and who's the source of news, and we said Donald Trump was Hitler, but half the country disagreed with us, and he won, and this is fucking great, and Joe Rogan believes in
She pointed out that on The View, free speech often seems acceptable only when it aligns with the table's worldview. Kelly especially focused on Joy Behar and Sunny Hostin's on-air personas, calling out contradictions between their messaging and their reactions to opposing viewpoints. She argued that disagreement on the show isn't treated as healthy debate, but as betrayal, especially when it comes from women who don't follow the panel's ideological expectations. What followed wasn't just commentary. It was methodical breakdown.
What Whoopi Goldberg said?
What'd she say?
Whoopi Goldberg said that Biden could arrest all the Republicans and put them in jail. You just need to see how unhinged this kind of thinking is. Well, you know what Joe Biden could do? Joe Biden, you have to see it because it's so
on TV.
crazy.
She said
on television.
You know, just let's look at a scenario where the Supreme Court says, yes, he has all those rights. He is immune from everything.
Yeah.
You know what Joe Biden could do since he is presently president?
What?
Whoa. He could throw every Republican in jail.
Then Kelly and Rogan started lining up The View's claims against the full context behind them. And the differences were glaring. One podcast episode labeled Dangerous turned out to be a calm conversation on health topics. Another segment called Extreme turned out to be a veteran discussing mindfulness. The reaction didn't match reality. Kelly didn't just challenge their framing. She contrasted it with full transcripts and actual content, showing how selective cuts and emotional spin shaped the show's narrative.
I don't know. Hey, this is the most important part. This was right after she was saying, we are run by ABC News. You should trust us, not Joe Rogan, who believes in dragons. So she by saying we should trust them because they're double checked by ABC News, and then making the stupidest fucking statement. Like you didn't listen to what I said. Yeah. You didn't listen to what the wildlife biologist, and that's only a part of it.
Their critique didn't attack just one episode. It highlighted a repeated pattern. The View often frames discussions around emotional reactions and simplified narratives, while Rogan and Kelly built their response on longer conversations, fuller context, and direct sourcing. The contrast was unmistakable. And as the tension settled, one thing became clear. The more The View leaned into dramatic certainty, the more vulnerable it appeared when confronted by slower, steadier, fact-driven criticism. In a world where audiences can watch full interviews and see full context for themselves, confidence without substance doesn't hold up for long.